What up?
How you doing?
Do you love my voice? It sounds so bad still. I don't know
Is
if
that
I got
health
a...
voice?
It's health voice. I don't think it was the karaoke. It could have been. But
No.
yeah, we so karaoke. Go Zeal team. Team Zeal was fun. Um, but yeah. Yeah, it was a week, that's for sure. Still digging out.
Welcome to another Hope, Power, and Karaoke with Chris Hemphill and
Melissa Reilly with a voice, the broken voice.
let's get into it. Let's get into it because I know that this was a big week for you and a lot of innovators out there at the health conference. I had, let's call it 60-ish hours of client work, so I was on the ground the whole time. Maybe I have some interesting stuff to reflect back on. Maybe I don't, but I think that you probably had a whole world of interesting things. So can we talk about that? Like, I had no idea that you even did karaoke. Let's get into all of it.
Because nobody wants to listen to me do karaoke, Chris. I was singing in the car with my daughter yesterday, and she's like, "Does your voice always sound that annoying and high pitched?" And I was like,
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, 12 is
Wow.
rough. 12 is rough, Chris. It's really rough.
Your daughter is queen of feedback. Like I like feedback like that. Like,
Yeah.
you know where you stand with her, it sounds
She's
like.
shady. Yeah. Love her. She's shady.
Go to karaoke song.
Um, I don't know, Living on a Prayer or Girls Just Want to Have Fun. That was a like old swim team song. Like I even have a dance. No one wants to see me dance either.
But they had to though, right?
Well, they did. I mean, I had to learn it, right? It's just what you do. I tried to
Cool.
learn the new Taylor Swift dance, keep it 100. And my daughter's like, never do that again. Never.
I'm gonna I've got to take a look at these dances and figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
That sounds really incredible.
Post it up on the page, right?
Will, yes, wish I was there with the camera
Yeah.
to capture all
No,
that.
you do not. This like makes your eyes bleed type, like, and your ears, your eyes and ears bleeding. I'll stick to podcasting.
Well, let's talk about it. Health. Uh, I've been to it a few times, but I didn't get to go this year. What did we miss? Like, what's the buzz on the floor over there?
Yeah, I go back to, I think in, deep in conference season, I still see this urge for people to like get together. There was some like nice, wonderful impromptu dinners or some dinners I was invited to. Shout out to Luminary Labs because they had such a nice, interesting dinner put together. Got to see some friends from the American Heart Association and meet some new friends in the pharma space. So also had dinner with one of my favorite people in the WBL. So, and that was very unplanned. And so I definitely felt like there is a lot of organic connections happening, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of, hey, this is a chance to connect with our industry friends and clients and others. Because I have to be honest, I didn't get to attend all of the sessions. Actually, I didn't attend any of the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I spent my time on the show floor, so I could tell you all the interesting things happening on the show floor. I would say if you've not gotten into an event on a sponsorship, rethink your strategies, because what I'm finding right now is that sometimes sponsoring is a better deal if you're trying to bring multiple people from your company to the event than if you just bought a plane ticket. So definitely can talk a lot about the show floor, can talk a lot about conversations I've had in, passing, if that would be really helpful. But I spent more of my time at the events after hours and doing show floor things.
Cool, cool. Let do not feel guilty about not attending sessions,
Really?
because
I was feeling really bad about that. I was like, should I read
don't.
others' LinkedIn posts to understand what actually happened at Health, even though I was there?
I think that if we were going to title this episode, I did something similar with Paul Shrimp, a consultant, a couple of years ago. We were at Health, and I just seen him, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I got my podcast equipment right here. How about we like find a nice, pretty place to have a conversation, and we're gonna talk about how to health." but that was back in I think like 2023, 2022, something like that. And I think that a conversation like that deserves a recap, because who's our audience? It's people who are trying to make a dent in the world and get their products seen and heard by the right people. And straight up, while the sessions can lead to some insights and inspiration and things like that, it's not exactly where all of the action is happening. Like even in my years working at these other companies where they would send me out to health, I felt guilty if all my time was spent just like in these sessions absorbing information. So I would always like try to at least post on LinkedIn about what happened in the session, like keep a running record and all that. But I really do feel like the advice would start at like arranging your meetings and the people that you're going to be meeting in person and things like that. The sponsorship concept that you're talking about. I know that you didn't come here today with like this specific guide in mind, but I think that people can steal and kind of plagiarize, like learn from what you did to like get a strategy to have an impact for their growth using at conference. I don't want to say using conferences like, but
Yeah,
at
it is. It
conferences like
definitely,
Health PhD.
conference is a
Yeah,
tool. Like a good
yeah.
conference is a tool. And I learned from a mentor long ago, like you have to understand what your ROI is going into each conference. And so, like, what is the point of attending? So, for the company that I was with, I talk a lot about it, Zeal. We've been working a lot with PACE centers and trying to really we're great in the direct to consumer massages. Like most people know, probably you can get the Zeal massage at your house, but we've been expanding into healthcare. And so Zeal's done over 200,000 massages for the VA, right? And so I think
Wow.
mainstream healthcare people like myself did not even realize before I started meeting the Zeal team that like you could actually work a massage into your corporate wellness benefit. So our KPI attending the event was awareness, right? And then I always love a good booth strategy. Like I get so sad with the booths that like just have their little screen up there or they have like a sign and then they have some mints. Nobody's going to come by your booth if you only have a sign and some mints. You need something
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So I remember early in my career, we had one of those spinny wheels with prizes, and like, even the sound of the wheel drives more people to the booth, so they're going to come
Mm-hmm.
by. So I'm definitely a person that like ideates around what you should do at a booth or a conference or an event. One of the most out there things I've seen at an event, but was amazing, was Stacy DiStefano, the Center for Healthcare Services, I think is her company's name. They did tattoos at BHT,
Oh
like
yeah, I
legit
remember that.
tattoos. And so, whether or not you wanted to get your tattoo, that was definitely a thoughtful marketing engagement strategy.
So you're so the first thing coming out of it is a magnetic booth strategy. You've invested all this money on being on the floor, but then when you're showing up, it's just with some mints and stuff that's not going to draw people in. That was a wasted investment, right?
Totally. Well, I'm going to even generalize up a layer. Well, like the booth is one play you can run. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
talk about like a conference strategy. One does not just conference for the sake of conferencing. That's an absolute waste of ROI. Like I think you have to actually sit down and thoughtfully, you can stand, take a walk. You have to really think about what is your point of being at the conference. Are you trying to see certain people? Are you just trying to be seen? Is it awareness? Is it engagement? Is it all of the above? Like, why are you even at the conference?
So what like and with Zeal, y'all answered that fundamental conversation, which is a lot of people don't understand where a massage can fit into the healthcare pipeline. Let's get some awareness on that.
Yeah, and then the secondary ROI for us was the conversations, being able to engage with others that would come by and learn about them. So that was like the secondary benefit, was coming out. Um, the conversations you'd organically have, the stakeholders you didn't intend. We knew from the attendee list, which you can get oftentimes when you sponsor, who we were specifically targeting. But we were surprised, I think, by some of the conversations we had. like health systems, like, Scan could be a good partner for Zeal potentially, and they could work it into a wellness benefit to be able to lower the total cost of care, right? But like having those conversations is a little bit like doing market research.
Great. So sponsorship that earns at a certain level, it earns like a view, a spreadsheet or table of people that are attending. And on top of that, that tells you, okay, so I see these job titles. I have a sense on who is going to be coming to the booth. Is it then time to start emailing them, or like what's that what goes into that outreach and awareness strategy once you start learning who is at the conference?
Yeah, well, first of all, think about like the engagement in sponsorship is also a strategy. And so I'll even back up a click here too. Christy, you're probably familiar with this, but I'm not sure that all of our new innovators potentially are. So most conferences have what's like called a sponsor prospectus. The sponsor prospectus tells you which level of sponsorships can you buy to attend the sponsorship. So I definitely think there's a level of strategy based on your like overall attendance strategy, which then says, okay, and then which conference package is going to best align to my goals of even attending the sponsorship. And there's so many ways to be crafty. I mean, if you're fractional like myself, you can think about which identity you want to attend with, right? Um, I looked at a sponsorship package and it was like, man, it would be way more effective for me to attend as a provider group than it would be to attend as myself, an individual consultant, to the tune of almost $5,000 of difference in pricing. So, like, there is a strategy of looking at that prospectus. And I would say, like, not all will let you, but I do find that many of the conference organizers are willing to negotiate with you if you want to make some swaps to be better aligned to the strategy. Whether that's, bringing in something unique at your booth,
Mm-hmm.
even if it doesn't specifically line item that out. For example, Zeal brought in a massage artist that required us to sort of have an extra staffing badge. We're very, very grateful to the health organizers for letting us do that. It was probably a one-time exception. Next time we would have to pay, but we were very, very grateful. And then they even helped rearrange the bigger booth we were in so that we could get our massage chair to fit. So there is, it's funny, if you go the day earlier than the event, you see all the people that are working these sponsorships, like setting up. And Chris, like,
Mm-hmm.
having worked at startup, you've probably like tried to assemble one of those pop-up banners. And I'm like, you see my hands over here, like, still struggling with that thing. Or like when you build the sign with the little wires behind it. I mean, you can spend a lot of sweat, blood, and tears getting yourself event ready to best take advantage of whatever sponsorship you've purchased.
Yeah, it's like you're walking into a movie theater, a movie setup
It is.
before it's happening.
There's a whole production around it. So if you think you're just going to show up with your phone and your laptop and have a successful sponsorship, you have not been paying attention.
Okay. Oh, that gives a lot to elevate the conversation, especially, uh, you know, taking it from mindlessly just spending some sort of budget line item and then showing up in a way that doesn't draw people in, to the difference of having your tattoo artist or your massage artist right there to make a difference, make an impact, do something memorable. And even when I was like the times that I went to either health or BHT, the little difference that like we didn't have booths at the companies that I was at the time, but we would just set up arrangements where we could do podcasting with key people that we wanted to talk to. So you can look into that deep lore history and see, hey, we set up someplace on the floor, or find an arrangement with the conference organizers for a space, and that was our way of getting in and having the like talking to the people that we wanted to talk to ahead of time. Just some examples.
Yeah, and when I was with like more of the marketing event organizations in the past, I mean, we had run of shows, plotting out our days. Who did we want to try to connect with? We would make briefing books. I don't know if anyone's used the idea of a briefing book, is that if you don't know what someone looks like, you go and grab their pictures. Now, okay, this is tiny bit stalkerish, but like it's very much done in this industry of like, who do you want to connect with? So that way if you can't always stop to read their name tags, you kind of know who you're looking for. It might be like some of your key targets. Now, a health briefing book with all the attendees is like probably overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I mean, you want to make one or two or even three passes of the attendee list to try to say, like, who is my target? Like, who do I want to look for? I use my notes app in my phone because I had a few clients there that I wanted to make sure that I saw. And I knew that was going to be challenging. I also found that if you can kind of scope the run of show on the floor plan, you can find um, like, this is probably like fourth health at this point in time. So I knew a lot of the landmarks for being in Vegas
Mm-hmm.
for health. So I was like, okay, meet at the Starbucks. If you don't have a badge, now some people don't buy badges, naughty people. I've done it, but like, it's a little bit frowned on. Then you have to meet slightly outside the show floor, right? So you have like an outside meeting space and then you have an inside meeting space. And I was trying to get people to meet me at my booth so that I wouldn't have to run back and forth. And shout out to our fitness fans. I definitely hit over 20,000 steps one day. 20,000. Woohoo. Yeah. I don't know if it's a badge of honor or a blister of honor there, but yeah, it was
Now,
fun.
like the health marathon, like I support that. Like I always know that my steps are going to be way up on those days.
Yeah, and I did a walking meeting too with one of my friend John Gordon. It was great. Like we're like, all right, like let's get some fresh Vegas air. It was early in the morning. The streets weren't too crowded, right? And so I think there's like creative ways to A, get your steps in, and B, to get caught up with people.
So I know that so the conversations that you have and the specifics, that's private and everything like that. But can we get some highlights on, like, we have this strategy now, we understand why we're here, what we're doing, we've got our briefings and things like that. What are some stories about some connections and learnings and growth that happened on the floor out there?
Well, I mean, I think that, for me, it's a lot of, I'm really talking like as a consultant, I'm talking about some of the companies where I think there would be a match for the person, right? So oftentimes it really starts with listening. Like I'm really just trying to listen to others. What are others up to? I want to um I want to like understand where their business is and maybe where some of my partner companies could be helpful to them. So I think it's less about like talking and creating a talking point script, although make sure you like do know your talking points for, whatever you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But really it's about listening. Like it's like what problem is that other company facing? And then like what are my to-dos? Like so follow-ups is sometimes the area where um I'll open up so many windows, I'll be a little bit delayed on my follow-ups. And I really appreciate people that like can get those follow-ups out, right? So I'm also trying to, next to my notes for each person, well, what are some of the things that I committed to do for the others? And then what are some of the follow-ups I need to align around? I had a great lunch with a consultancy group, and that was fantastic. I learned a lot about how they were operating and some of the things that they were looking for. And then they invited me to their happy hour, which was excellent. So, there's a lot of, I think I go back to that word organic. Like a lot of times you plan and God laughs, right? For your,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I think I'm going to be doing and this is where I want to be. And then people pull you into all these other conversations. I almost got two spa treatments with two of the companies. If I had planned better, I definitely would have gotten to go to the spa. I did make it over to the spa, but we just had like a networking conversation with one of my other companies. I didn't actually make it to the treatment because I had to go catch my flight. So I guess I would not close, but I would say like my final tip kind of in that section is like also be open to the amazing things that could happen. I have so many stories, especially in Vegas, of, nights with friends that end up, accidentally shopping at this amazing store or doing karaoke just because you just kind of go with the flow. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can just have like amazing experiences.
I would have flown out just for the karaoke alone.
I know you would have. I mean, you would have been up there on the stage leading the karaoke friend.
Um, Talk to me about this. Okay, so you've got your briefing documents, your prospectus, and stuff like that. And for the VP of sales and regional account executives and all that, I feel like they're settled. They're not gonna have a problem going up and talking to these folks. But a lot of the people that I've met at Health over the years are they're in founder mode, they're in build mode, and they're trying to establish these connections and all that, and they might not have that gregarious nature, or might have some personal barriers before they get out and start talking to people. What's your advice to how to make those connections if you're not like a trained people talker person?
Okay, first get a book. Get the book, How to Work a Room. We've talked about this before. It's full of tons of tips beyond what I could even explain just on how to network, right? Because there's some like basics in networking. But I would say my favorite Melissa Reilly tip would definitely be like, have your elevator pitch ready. And that's like your one sentence. Like, not everyone wants to understand how you started your company, and it should not be 45 minutes around like what this is. This is like your crisp one or two liner, like who you are, right? So mine could be, I'm Melissa Reilly, right? And if I'm talking about stealth, right? My whole job is to help startups work better with payers, right? That's it. That's it. Do not do
Mm.
more. Let them ask the follow-up question. If they ask you the question, they're interested. If they move on and talk about themselves, they are not, right? And so, when Sam and I were joking at the booth for Zeal. I hope he doesn't mind me telling this story, but
Wait,
our
Sam who?
admin, LaPointe, our friend Sam
Oh,
LaPointe. Yeah.
I thought our mutual friend might have been there. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, no, no. I know you're talking about, but no. So Sam and I were joking, like, when people ask us, why are we at Health? What are we there? We're trying to get massage to the people, right? Just, like we want, and really that was meant to say, like, we want massage worked into, because of the health benefits, all the points of healthcare. People with substance use disorder, polychronic, polypharmacy, there's such a great space for massage to lower the total cost of care, but so many people don't know it. But massage for the people, we found, really got people talking like, what are you talking about? Right. And then it just let us kind of open up that conversation. So I really believe you need to have your one or two liner like down and cold.
That's beautiful because you don't it's hard to know what to focus on when you're thinking about all the tremendous things that your company does, but you can't be in the elevator just blah blah blahing about this. You have to give people something simple to grab onto and then see where the questions go, because you might be answering questions they don't care about if your 15-second elevator pitch is actually 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it still goes back to like, I still want to know who they are. That helps me tailor my elevator pitch into like whatever their need is. That matching is so, so important. You just never know who's going to be like that helpful to you kind of in your journey. And This is a tangential aside, but I got invited to talk to this amazing group of working younger moms, right? So, like, probably who I was maybe 10 years ago, right? With maybe 20, with my first child, having my first child, and like navigating work. And I did like kind of just a little talk for them. And the two of the other panelists with me, they were incredible. Kristen Kelly and Jane Mentz, shout out to them. And they were just talking, and I so, so believe in this. You and I talk about this all the time. It's that value of the network. And so I think that secondary benefit of health is that it helps you continue to build out like who is your network. And there's people you start gravitating towards, and it's going to oftentimes be your network that's really, really valuable right now. Because I think the other theme is healthcare is really hard right now. It's really expensive. I would say it's probably harder than ever to make moves in healthcare and bring innovation forward in a way I haven't seen in so many years. And you see that in kind of like the thinning presence of people able to purchase booths. You see that in so many people that told me, oh, I can't do health this year. Like, it's just not in the budget for us.
So is how has that presence felt? Like I know that you've been at a few healths before. Does it feel like this bigger, more general conference, high ticket price, and all that, crowd's a bit thinner? health
Crowd's a bit
plans
thinner.
and
I think they still got a good turnout. I mean, I just look at I look at show floors to say, how do I compare show floor now from show floor last year? Less booths, right? Smaller booths, more of the skinnier booths versus the bigger booths. Less of the the well capitalized booths are handing out the ice cream and the free things, right? When I was young in my career, or just dumb, I guess, I would go to all the booths and I would collect all the free things and I'd bring them home and then I'd end up like throwing them out. So that was just like, be selective about what you pick up. But like the gifts are less gifty. They're, a little bit lower cost. There's less free items. You're seeing more people maybe do some of the event things where the food is free versus doing their own big thing.
So I've got a couple of things. I'm going to share a couple of stories. Even though I wasn't at health this year, here's a couple of pieces of advice, and they're related to one person. One piece of advice
Okay.
is while you're walking around the floor, and you're talking about walking by the booths, and they all have this stuff, and it sounds like they're very hungry for, like they've invested this money. They're hungry for attention and talking to anybody that they can. But be very, very careful with your time and your eye gaze, because like you lock eyes with somebody and all of a sudden it becomes a conversation, the next conversation, the next conversation. And Melissa, you bore witness to that because like I was like just looking and talking to everybody, and I just had no clue about like how much time I would have wasted if I was just making that eye contact with everybody at those booths.
Well, and I feel, our booth was great. This one, to build on your story, if it got slow at the booth, I'll just go get a massage. It was perfect, right? I designed my booths so they're fun for me when I'm standing there, if I have to be standing there, right? I haven't had to like work a booth full time in many, many years. But for those that have, it can be a very lonely job, right?
Mm.
And you are just struggling to make that eye contact, hoping someone will come talk to you and want to engage with you, right? And you can collect those leads and follow up on those leads. But there's a whole rhythm around conferencing, and there's people that like make their whole careers coming up with like booth and event strategy. And I'm dangerous after my like 6 years adjacent to events and partnerships. But like, you can spend some serious money. I remember one time in my career at a large company, we were spending like $100,000 on our booth budget for a
Mm.
big event we were trying to target. Like you can drop some money on it.
Now, the other strategy I want to share that's related
Yeah.
to a
Tell me.
person is okay. So there was this conference in 2023, and we were looking to make some connections and stuff like that. And I was at Wobot at the time. We had our podcast called Meeting of the Minds, and we did outreach, selected outreach to people that we wanted to talk to and that we thought were leading important and interesting conversations. We partnered with them to like have that outreach and co-develop a podcast with that conference series. So one of the people that was on the list was one Melissa Reilly, and
Oh
that was
yeah.
how
She's the
we
worst.
met. That was
I
literally how
know.
we met.
I know. I know. I love that. I love that. And then my competitive edge made me want to come on again and again so I could be your most returned guest and look at hashtag I'm winning.
Measurement informed care.
I know.
You drove like your competitive spirit worked because I think that was at the time of release the biggest splash, like the biggest number of views in a short amount of time. So yeah,
I'm
keep
still
in.
competitive about getting measurement based care to happen. It makes me so mad. People are like, what are you so excited about that you've accomplished in your career? I was like, well, I've been tangential to measurement based care since I've started. Have you made it happen? No, but I'm still trying, right?
There's we didn't get to go deep on it, but there was a conference I went to a few weeks ago uh, with the Meadows Mental Health Institute Policy Institute, and measurement informed care was very much a central theme there. So your fight is still being fought. There's still lots of good conversations happening around it, and yeah, you're leaving your
So
mark.
much conversing, so few activation. I mean, like it is happening. I'm joking a little bit. I am like so passionate about it happening at much broader scale across, more consistent across all these different disparate groups. I'm just trying to be friends with everyone that's trying to make it happen so that, I can stay tangential to it.
Well, let's take it a layer deeper. Let's because again, this wasn't something that was on the conversation plan docket, but now I'm just thinking back to what was happening on stage in the sessions at that conference versus talking to clinicians and leaders who were there. I actually had the pleasure of talking to a psychiatrist in residency at the same time, a consultant that was working with him, and we got to have a really good conversation about what measurement informed care actually means in practice. And like the metric that I've heard ever since I've been in the industry, like the first time I heard the metric was that fewer than 20%. This was back in 2022. I heard the metric. I think Dylan Ross, who's at Rogers Behavioral Health Institute at the time, he shared that fewer than 20% of behavioral health practitioners practice measurement informed care. I'm at this conference. It's 2025 now, and I see that very same metric 3 years later. So I'm like, where's the movement? And when I was talking to people on the floor, it was it was a mixture of like there's an interest in wanting to be data driven and wanting to use data informed techniques, but when you're deeper and deeper and deeper into sessions with clients and things like that, the demands change and the interests change, and a lot of times where these initiatives kind of go off the rails is where there's a misalignment between the behavioral health practitioners and the operational leaders and the types of things that they're trying to see. But I think that there's some movements that I'm seeing from the NCQA and others that kind of answer more of those clinician interest points. But I just wanted to share some of that just to open up any, like I asked you a lot about health, but if that leads to any questions about the Meadows Mental Health Policy conference, I'd love to share.
Yeah, I would love to hear, Chris. Did you need a survival guide for that conference? Any tips and tricks you'd want to share? And then I'm sure everyone would love to hear a little bit around what you're hearing. I think I will see Casey. I might do the reel this week. I've got two conferences on deck this week, one the following, and then two more the next week as we round out the end of conference season. So tell us all your tips, and I'd love to get a little preview into what I might hear this week.
Okay, great. So Meadows, this just big old shout out to Casey Kelly at Meadows and team for organizing this. It was more intimate experience, single room, single conference track, but arranged in a way that they wanted to spark conversations and spark interactions. I saw so many great people there, Solomay and of behavioral health tech and others. But the main thing the main thing that I have to say, and the reason I said don't feel guilty about not attending the sessions, is because like when you're looking at a session, there's going to be some conversation and talking points and things like that, and that kind of like for the people that did attend those, that's going to put some issues that are fresh on their mind. So even if you didn't get to like attend the session proper, what a lot of what I was doing, like I did attend those sessions and I saw what they were saying about measurement informed care overall, but then I got to talk specifically to clinicians like Dr. Jessica Jackson, for example, and the psychiatrist that I met about, okay, so we saw like what's happening at this like high overhead level, but like, hey, what's really going on? What are some of the barriers to adopting this? Like how should we be thinking about success? So the sessions can, like, if you know what the talking points are on those sessions, then that's a great way to just talk to people about the issues at hand while those thoughts are fresh.
Yeah. Did they give you a lens why measurement-based care is not systematized across everybody at this point in time? Did you get a sense on that, Chris? Because I actually, going back to our earlier chat, I actually think more doctors than ever are measuring the before and after of their care. Clinicians, not doctors, sorry. But I don't know that everyone's able to give it to other people and share it and be able to converse about the different levels of pain that others are in a way that it's as actionable as we would want it to be.
There's a lot of issues that are there, and one of them is a workflow issue. Like if you are in the if you're delivering, if you're a practitioner on the behavioral health side, then there are a number of issues that you have to address within a session. And if the measurement informed care guideline requires collecting the GAD7 and PHQ9 in every session, well, that takes away time from addressing issues that might be progressing deeper and things like that. So it creates this misbalance, especially because of the, like, you have the workflow issue where there's time taken away from the session, but there's also a compensation issue. Well, if we have to take that time away from the session, then if you're not a behavioral health practitioner, then there is a remit for collecting that information. But if you are in session, if you're a therapist, you don't receive that. So there's kind of this workflow and policy issue that actually makes it a little bit harder to collect and incentivize the collection of that data. And then there's the social issue where I'm talking like if you are 40 sessions deep with somebody that you've had a relationship with for 2 years, and they're asking the same questions about like what you're like from the PHQ9, whether you're having difficulty reading a newspaper over the last 2 weeks, it's just off. It doesn't
It doesn't match the reality of the conversation, right?
yeah.
It's like it'd be like you're trying to do your elevator pitch again and again at health, and they're like, I know what you do, Chris, right? Like you've told me this again and again.
Yes. So that was gosh, one of the things that I like the most about Meadows is they knew that they had a short amount of time, and they didn't have all the places where people would be able to mingle and interact and all that, like over the course of a few days. So in one day they said, okay, well, we have this single track session, but we're going to break everybody out and we're going to have them get into circle and address a problem together. So the problem that the little group that I was in, the focus was on, hey, this vendor has this measurement informed care solution, but it doesn't integrate with the EMR. What do we do about this? And it was myself in kind of like the data science consultosphere, along with people that were at there's NCQA. There were people that were in provider organizations, people in payer organizations, and it just allowed this conversation to happen. And then they appointed a person from each group to do a readout of what discussion points were addressed. So it allowed that more fluid, natural dynamic that you can't get in kind of a talking head session. It allowed people to like really get in and talk to people face to face in a small, comfortable setting, and then take the highlights from that to the bigger stage. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that part of it.
Even though it seems sometimes like, interactive, and some people don't want to be interactive, they just want to like do their emails some days. I actually appreciate those sessions more. You get a chance to talk to people. You're not just listening, you're interacting. Like I've seen that done very, very well. That's a wonderful conference strategy of like
Yeah,
facilitating engagement.
they knocked it out of the park. And I think I can speak. Yeah, I'm going to be speaking with Geisinger at Behavioral Health Tech, and they are launching a measurement informed. Like they're tying measurement to a whole person care initiative, but they're doing something very different and very powerful that I can't wait to discuss with my Geisinger colleague Benjamin Gonzalez, who is an operational leader there. But he has his background in operations and substance use, but the team understands that the clinicians bring all kinds of different perspectives and nuance to the table. So rather than the measurement, and this is something difficult because it adds time, it can add a little frustration to an initiative. But what they're doing is not making it a fully top-down thing. There's a team of clinicians that they're engaged with that they've given like this whole list of assessments and things like that, and they've actually even involved the NCQA and some of their person-centered outcomes measurement strategies and things like that. And they're allowing the clinicians to take more of a role in choosing what measurements get used and how, so that rather than it becoming rather than it being those instructions from on high, they had
A
they had
voice.
input. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I don't think anyone has ever said like we have to dictate the tool. All the better ones I've seen allow any instrument to be used as long as there's an instrument. Again, the hard part is then when you pick that back up and roll it back to the population health level, how do you capture all the data? You as a data scientist should definitely appreciate that, right? Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
as normalized when you start to do that. And we know like different assessments have different things that they're looking for. They're not all the same. So it might be an assessment problem. The Can I swirl into another thing that's been in the ecosystem, beyond surviving conferences, but definitely like probably as a thread that runs through it, maybe even like an invisible thread or a very visible thread at this point in time. And that is the area of rising cost. I think
Yes.
everyone is assuming rising cost is coming. And so I think we as consultants, independents are going to be impacted by this rising cost in different ways, right? And we saw two influencers this week post about we've got Chrissy Farr talking about her LinkedIn post about costs, specifically the rising medical costs and the premiums that are coming and the cost of healthcare for families. And then we had another friend, Damon Cergnoli, who posts specifically, I thought this was very vulnerable, about both he and his wife are building companies, they're independents, and they're paying for their healthcare costs on their own through the ACA in Georgia. So they both share some sobering thoughts on the impact of cost and that healthcare costs are going up. Chris, what do you think about all this?
I was actually just independently. I was curious about what the swing has been since. Honestly, I'm just to be straight up. I was curious about after the assassination of Brian Thompson. Thompson, the correct last name, right? Yeah.
Yeah, PT. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that happened, what's been the influence or response? And I didn't do deep research on it, but I did see that overall from like the Kaiser Family Foundation, they put out that some statistics earlier this month that there's been a 6% increase in premiums since last year. So yeah, the concept and conversation on cost is very high on the mind. But I'm like I saw the post from Chrissy Farr and Damon, and it starts leading to the question of like what are the areas that we can focus on to address these cost issues, because I'm in kind of that like let's understand what the problem is part of it, but just not even at the beginning of like what do we do.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the same way we've seen costs rise on the price of food, right? I mean, there's got to be an underlying. If I was an economist, which I am clearly not. Um, it's the same thing that's happening. Our healthcare premiums are impacted by the same things that are driving up the price of eggs and the price of clothing. But I think there's a secondary thing that isn't impacting as much, right? So then wages. So if you think about the major levers in healthcare, you have medical expense, right? The cost of the care. And then you have operational expense, the cost of administering the care. And then you start to say, okay, let's just say the price of shirts and the price of eggs and the price of gas have all gone up, right? And are we expecting our clinicians who are shouldering the burden of taking on all this care, these clinicians want to be paid more. So clinicians have to be paid more. The only thing that can really happen right now is premiums can go up, like the amount that pays for all the care together, or we can find ways to reduce the cost of delivering the care or administering the care, or the cost of what we have to pay clinicians to, be part of the care ecosystem. So it's like some things have to go up and some things have to go down, but across the board, it's going to be very hard to keep premiums where they were even a year ago. And I'm not pro premium increasing, as someone that has to pay for it for my family too. And I have 3 kids and one in college. So I'm not for these premiums going up. And when you look at the high cost of care, what is it, $27,000 a year before co-pays and co-insurance, Chris, on average, that a family still has to pay for healthcare? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so it puts us in a very fragile situation where like the as the closest thing that in this data science realm, the closest thing that I've ever done that that even starts to address that this is an engagement that you had led, was to start looking at these published machine readable files from payers that show what the negotiated rates are for diagnoses and procedures by provider. And the reason I even bring that up is because I was listening to Stacy Richter's podcast, Relentless Health Value, which, Melissa, have you listened to her before?
No, but I will. You send it to me.
Okay, yeah. Just join her tribe. She is always talking about these payer perspectives and cost management, and like talking to people that are leading these types of programs within provider and payer organizations. The most recent guest was really interesting because he shone a light that high cost and high paying more for something does not necessarily mean that the quality is higher. That there's kind of an uncoupling of like extremely high cost and quality. So again, this is just this is kind of an outsider to the whole cost management perspective, but at least wanting to point the fam and the audience to resources. And I think that it's episode 490 of Relentless Health Value is a deep dive with Dr. Sam Flanders and Stacy Richter about the realities of the healthcare market and what can be done to increase quality while controlling costs.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Having done a little bit of work in the payment integrity space across like the 20 plus years in healthcare, it's really interesting because like some dollar spend is absolutely valid. And there's a lot of dollar spend still that's waste. I mean, it's not intentional waste, it's almost like systemic waste in some ways. Um, you just look at things that we couldn't previously be able to like make more efficient. But I can really attest there's a ton of people that are looking every day, automation teams, AI teams, they're looking at how can care be more efficient while protecting good quality care. Um, and I know oftentimes my comments probably sound more pro payer than maybe some people would like, but I think most of the time it's really well meaning. There's just some systemic barriers that, we haven't been able to tackle. I'm excited now because you've got some of that transparency to be able to see places where we can start to make better. Now we just need the budgets to be able to fix some of the outdated tech systems. And again, that's going to require more investment.
Yeah. There's like when I think about these barriers, there's cost issues, there's communications issues. Actually, the Terry Tusnick, she's been sharing heavily. She's a healthcare executive that has been sharing about her journey with cancer recently, and she was telling me recently about how, and I'm talking like 2025. In the last 4 weeks, she had to fax a document from one hospital to another because their systems don't
Yeah.
talk to each other.
Yeah. I mean, like, if they could just find a better way than fax to send things, but like the fax still lives and it only lives in healthcare, you know? Um, Go fax, right? Because I think we would still be lost without it. Like someone could make millions if they could find a way to like make a better thing than a fax.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's there, but the community, like the technology is definitely there to be able to share things securely, but I'm just not sure that that the
The
incentives are there, or that people are acting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The healthcare like well, it goes back to there needs to be some type of investment and incentive to make healthcare more interoperable. And some people still didn't want to say the word. So, like interoperability needs to happen and maybe be mandated.
Yeah, yeah. Ha- the deeper subject. Actually, let's see. Crazy thing. I actually saw the former former head of the of health IT for the country, Dr. Mickey Tripathi. Just saw him walking about in DC, and that was his big goal, was around interoperability. I know that there are some moves in that space right now, and that could be like even, I don't like using words that are kind of alienating and hard to understand, but interoperability, like, come on, like we could
Let's
have
make
an
it
episode on that pretty soon.
interoperability for the people alongside the
Yes.
massage, right? It's going to make everybody's life easier, right? We hope.
Well, we've certainly covered a gamut of issues around what do you do at a conference? How do you
Conference
survive?
survival guide.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is definitely the conference survival and thrival guide,
Yeah.
because like there's some examples of like taking that chaos and all that and using it to your advantage, at health that just came, or BHT that's coming up. Like we'll hope to see you there. Uh, what about on the way to the conference and before and outside the conference? What kind of pop culture, music, books? What's keeping you motivated and hyped up when we're going into all this hubbub lately?
Okay, so my husband and I decided to do this thing. We started it yesterday. We want to look at all the AFI top 100 movies. And so we're going to like try to do that. Now, I don't know in what order. We'll both have to be home, so neither of us can be traveling internationally or to a conference. But last night we watched right on par for our favorite topic, mental health and measurement-based care. We watched One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson, like a very,
Ooh.
very young Jack Nicholson. Now, I had never seen the movie. My husband was like, "You're going to love this one. It's about mental health." And I was like, "Okay." But yeah, so we watched that. And so what we're doing, and people, bam, please feel free. We're shouting at it. We don't know that we don't have a list of the 100. We have to pull it up on our phones, right? But we pick a number. And so the number correlates to the movie we're going to watch. And so that's what we're doing for fun. I guess that's fun, right?
What's your take on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
I loved every minute of it. And I'm so glad that, like, if you actually go back and research it, which I did on ChatGPT, it's really all about, um, like man versus authoritarian society. It's like a paradigm for that, right? And so Jack Nicholson is meant to represent free will and freedom. And then Nurse Ratched is supposed to be like control and rebellion against control. And so it's really a perfect movie for everything we've discussed, over the last hour or so.
Over the last inception of this podcast too,
Yeah,
because
totally.
yeah, it's definitely
Totally.
living that with the restrictions on communications that we're seeing, like, on broad.
Yeah. However, spoiler alert, it didn't turn out so well for Jack Nicholson, right? So, beware innovators, beware.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
What about you?
oh, let's see. All right. So I have a rule about conference. I have a general rule about conferences, is that I only, like, since I'm so buried in other things, like, I try to only go if I'm speaking. So that leads me to a song by Susie Analog that came out like 2019, 2018, something like that, called Way Live, with this rapper Zen So Fly. And the line that hits is, "I ain't going out unless I'm getting paid." So
Chris, you're so funny. It's an interesting rule. I like that rule. I mean, I love people that are setting up boundaries. Boundaries are good. Boundaries are
yeah,
good.
it's just like I we can talk about burnout. I got a lot of burnout from like going to conference after conference after conference. And it's not that I don't enjoy talking to people. I just didn't feel like I was able to execute on my like technical goals, data science goals, and things like that, while out there just kind of networking and everything like that. So I set at this boundary where if I'm at a conference, it has to be either for podcasting or for a speaking engagement, just so that I wouldn't be sucked into all that stuff. But
See what you did there, though? You hit my tip number one. You decided what your personal ROI had to be for the conference, right? And so I think that's great. I think that's great. What I found is with my companies, me being at a conference can create ROI or can lead generate, right? So, but that's my own personal ROI equation. I
mm-hmm.
love yours.
Yeah, yeah. With me, and plus, gosh, I love talking about this stuff, but it's doing it, like having the hands, the sleeves rolled up, and everything like that. And it's just as important. Like the time that I spend talking about it subtracts from the time doing it. So gotta just find that balance. So thank you, appreciate that. And for the fam out there, hope that this carries you through the next season of conferencing.
And share your conference survival tips with us. Maybe we'll share that on the podcast or even bring some of our fam on, like the stealthy, amazing conference, negotiator. Sometimes it is like a hostage negotiation session. You've got to get yourself all the best things out of this podcast and out of your conference attendance.
Appreciate that. Yes, would love to see those in the comments. And you comment on that, we will shout you out. We will shout it out because we just love those kinds of stories.
Yeah, we do. We so do. On that note of fun, we will see you all next episode.
All right. Thank you, fam.